Breaking! Russia's entire economy is about to implode. Yes, you heard that right. The Russian economy is on the verge of complete collapse. Since their invasion of Ukraine, the Russian government would like the rest of the world to believe that everything is fine and that they are stronger than ever. And yes, this is very believable, especially because Russia is synonymous with superpower status due to its arsenal of weapons, machinery, and missiles. However, the truth is, this does not appear to be the case. In fact, the Russian economy appears imminently threatened with collapse. The end seems to be here already. Do you remember what happened to Japan's economy centuries ago, or the United States in the global 2008 financial crisis? Well, we are about to witness the fall of another world power economy. To get to the core of the matter, one could say that Russia is undergoing an import and export crisis at the moment. Except for energy exports, virtually all trade with Western nations ceased with the commencement of the invasion. Now, the big question is, why? Remember that Ukraine joined NATO, and the majority of those in this alliance are Western countries. This is why all ties have been severed with Russia. One might say Vladimir Putin foresaw this, but was filled with rage rather than sense. Several European nations reacted similarly to the United States' action of prohibiting the importation of gas and crude oil from Russia. Due to a substantial deficit in oil demand, Russia has been grappling with a considerable oil surplus for the past 6 months, ever since the implementation of these restrictions commenced. What that means is no country wants to patronize a predatory nation like Russia. Therefore, their oil production is just there. India and China have acquired a portion of the excess crude oil produced by Russia. However, this only partially offsets the diminished interest of Western nations in the demand. Moreover, due to their advantageous negotiating positions, China and India are procuring Russian oil at approximately 30% less than the current market price per barrel. Now, we are only left to wonder, are these opportunistic deals a lifeline for Russia, or do they signal deeper troubles beneath the surface? Certain European nations rely significantly on natural gas imported from Russia. This advantageous circumstance grants Russia a competitive edge in exporting this invaluable commodity. The consistent provision of affordable energy, facilitated at least in part by Russian-produced natural gas, has been a vital component of both economies. The country has amassed immense profits due to supply restrictions and price increases in Russia, while simultaneously sending shockwaves through Europe, which relies on natural gas imported from Russia. Regardless, European countries are presently undertaking a deliberate endeavor to reduce their dependence on energy imports from Russia. They are accomplishing this through constructing nuclear power facilities, expanding their domestic renewable energy production, and formulating long-term strategies to import natural gas from other nations. Due to the protracted implementation period of this course of action, Russia is poised to forfeit a substantial volume of demand and influence on the European energy market. And this exactly is the crust of Russia's woes. Amidst the potential surge in demand for Russian gas in nations like China and India, a pressing question looms. Will this uptick be sufficient to counterbalance the expected decline in demand from European countries? The challenges of natural gas transportation, notably the need for billion-dollar pipelines, present a formidable obstacle. Currently lacking the infrastructure to transport substantial quantities to Asian nations, Russia risks exhausting prospective buyers for its gas. Now, let's look at international industries affected by these challenges. The economic impact of Russia's incapacity to import commodities is severe, specifically affecting sectors like transportation and electronics. At present, the construction of specific apparatus and equipment in Russia is unfeasible due to a scarcity of parts and components, which must be imported regularly. The current situation is negatively impacting the economy. As the scarcity worsens, Russia is compelled to either produce alternative imports or, more often than not, produce these components domestically. Nevertheless, the approach is not devoid of its limitations. For example, the manufacturing process for these components is not particularly efficient, and a considerable proportion of them are highly substandard quality, posing potential hazards when incorporated into specific products. Likewise, the equipment utilized in oil extraction, whether in its entirety or predominantly, is imported from Western nations. The cost of oil extraction from Russia is anticipated to increase in the coming years due to the escalating expenses associated with both the apparatus and the labor required for the operation. But beyond all of these, Russia is struggling with a far worse problem threatening the health of the country's economy. A considerable proportion of the world's most formidable corporations have either withdrawn from the Russian market or substantially curtailed their business operations within that nation. This flight has repercussions in every significant sector of the Russian economy, including banking, the food and beverage industry, the technology sector, the consumer products industry, and so on. Several corporations, including Apple, Google, MasterCard, Visa, McDonald's, Netflix, Nike, and IKEA, are relinquishing their positions due to the significant surge in employee departures. Due to the considerably high number of businesses that have departed, the Russian economy is undergoing disruptions affecting both domestic trade and gross domestic product. Now, let's go deep into these stats together. According to estimates, approximately 45% of Russia's gross domestic product in 2021 was designed to cover the costs associated with the trade and GDP these companies presently export from Russia. Due to client migration towards alternative Russian organizations in search of goods and services and the divestment of certain assets and franchises by multinational corporations to Russian entities, the substantial corporate flight is anticipated to exert a lesser influence on Russia's GDP by 45% than it otherwise would. However, right now, it is rational to deduce that this is exerting a substantial adverse influence on the Russian economy and the well-being of its populace, who rely on the commodities and services provided by foreign-based operations that have departed from Russia. The Russian takeovers have detrimental effects on the business's overall efficiency and the initial grade of service provided. Furthermore, Russia is currently witnessing the onset of a brain outflow phenomenon due to its import deficit. This is due to a considerable proportion of the nation's most erudite and well-informed populace evacuating the territory. The residents of Russia have experienced a decline in their standard of living due to a scarcity of vital components and protracted disruptions in the delivery of essential goods. A great deal of misery befalls those whose occupations require them to manufacture home appliances, such as refrigerators and dishwashers. Such misery results from a lack of semiconductors or the inability to obtain the necessary raw materials to produce these items. At this time, Russia is experiencing a brain drain, with individuals with the required financial resources and expertise leaving the nation searching for greater opportunities abroad. The Russian economy might potentially encounter a shortage of highly skilled labor and innovation in the future as a result of this development. The extreme financial crisis and restricted credit access that Russia endures are also part of the full picture of ruins. Let's put this into perspective. Russia projected that its 2022 budget deficit will be a mere 2%, significantly less than the United States' anticipated deficit of 5 and 8%. However, these two nations are entirely different when it comes to administrative deficits. Due to its robust connections with dependable financiers and its generally positive reputation, the United States of America has multiple alternatives to address the budget deficit. But on the other hand, Russia is incapable of issuing debt and has been unable to do so since the commencement of the invasion. Instead of resorting to loan acquisitions to address its budget deficit, Russia is utilizing its reserve fund, an emergency fund intended only for use in the most critical situations. Before the invasion, this emergency reserve had an estimated value of $643 billion. However, in the 5 following months, it was rapidly depleted to approximately $568 billion, indicating that they had employed around $75 billion during this time frame. Due to the Western Bank's decision to freeze $300 billion, Russia presently lacks unrestricted access to the remaining $568 billion, and the actual available reserve has been reduced to approximately $268 billion. This is a significant statistic that must be considered. Russia can easily reduce its budget deficit by adjusting its expenditure patterns. However, once these funds are depleted, this will continue to be a significant issue for the nation in the years to come. There is a viewpoint among certain individuals that the Russian ruble has exhibited a comparatively favorable performance against the US dollar, increasing in value by 25% since the invasion commenced. This is the result of a currency market analysis. An economy's robustness can be assessed by examining the degree to which its currency appreciates. However, it is widely acknowledged that Russia engages in substantial manipulation and support of the Russian ruble following these figures. Putin passed a law immediately that halted the movement of Russian rubles from Russian holders into the market. Consequently, Russian rubles depositors could not exchange their currency for dollars issued by the federal government of the United States. Similar to assets in other markets, the price of this asset will increase if all new supply is abruptly removed from the market. This phenomenon persists irrespective of the magnitude of the decline in demand for the asset. Due to Putin's intervention, the extent of value depreciation the Russian rubles would have incurred in a fully decentralized currency market remains indeterminate. Without a doubt, we think Putin is merely attempting to buy time to delay the inevitable. The Russian rubles will probably undergo a significant value depreciation once its sale restrictions are lifted. Therefore, the big question is, how long would this be? So, yeah, we can safely say that Russia's economy's strength doesn't appear to be positive. Or do you have a different perspective? Don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments below. We would love to know what you think. In the meantime, you can check out other exciting economic content we have on this channel by clicking on the videos on your screen. What we think about the crumbling economy of China is a good way to begin. See you there.